The Hunter and the Dove. Once upon a time, in a dense forest that stretched far and wide, there lived a dove named Surya. She was known for her pure white feathers that shimmered in the sunlight, and her soothing coos brought comfort to the hearts of all who heard them. Surya lived peacefully with her friends, often flying above the treetops, basking in the beauty of the forest, and gathering food from the lush greenery. One fine morning, as the first rays of sunlight filtered through the forest canopy, Surya left her nest to search for seeds and berries. She chirped melodiously, her tune resonating with the waking forest. Little did she know, danger awaited her in the shadows. In a nearby clearing, a hunter named Kiran crouched silently. Kiran was known throughout the region as a skilled marksman. However, over the years, hunting had become less about survival and more about pride for him. He sought trophies to prove his mastery, and he had heard tales of a mystical white dove that resided in the forest. As Surya flew through the trees, her radiant feathers caught Kiran's eye. The hunter's heart raced with excitement as he strung his bow and aimed carefully. The world around him seemed to pause as he released the arrow. The arrow whizzed through the air and grazed one of Surya's wings. She let out a cry of pain and spiraled downwards, landing in a bush. Though injured, she managed to hide herself under the dense foliage. Kiran approached the spot where he had seen the dove fall, his footsteps crunching on the dry leaves. He searched high and low but could not find her. Exhausted, he sat on a nearby rock and sighed. His excitement had waned, replaced by a strange sense of guilt. As he sat there, an elderly hermit named Perth wandered into the clearing. Perth was a wise man who had spent years meditating in the forest, learning its ways and respecting its inhabitants. He noticed the hunter's bow and quiver and the unease on his face. "What troubles you, young man?" Perth asked in a calm voice. Kiran hesitated but eventually confessed, "I injured a beautiful dove and cannot find her. I wanted her as a trophy, but now I feel regret. I've taken pride in hunting, but this feels wrong." Perth nodded and said, "The dove you seek is not just any bird. She is a symbol of peace and harmony in this forest. To harm her is to disturb the balance of nature." Kiran was silent, the weight of his actions sinking in. "What can I do to make amends?" he asked. Perth smiled gently and replied, "Show her kindness. Protect her instead of hunting her. Perhaps, in doing so, you will find the peace you seek." Determined to right his wrongs, Kiran set off to search for the dove again, this time with a heart full of remorse. Meanwhile, Surya, still hiding in the bush, tended to her wounded wing as best she could. She knew she couldn't fly far and feared the hunter might find her again. As dusk settled, Kiran stumbled upon the bush where Surya was hiding. Her bright feathers gave her away in the moonlight. She trembled as he approached, expecting the worst. But Kiran knelt before her and said softly, "I'm sorry for hurting you. Please, let me help." Surya looked into his eyes and saw sincerity. Reluctantly, she allowed him to pick her up. Kiran carried her to a stream, cleaned her wound, and gently bandaged it with strips of cloth from his own shirt. He built a small shelter for her and stayed by her side, guarding her from predators. Over the following days, Kiran cared for Surya, bringing her food and water, and ensuring her wound healed. During this time, he began to see the forest in a new light. The animals, the trees, the streams all were interconnected, each playing a vital role in the ecosystem. Surya, too, began to trust Kiran. She saw the change in his heart and forgave him. When her wing finally healed, she spread her feathers wide and took to the skies once more. But instead of flying away, she circled back and perched on Kiran's shoulder. From that day on, Kiran renounced hunting and became a guardian of the forest. He worked alongside Perth to protect its creatures and educate others about the importance of harmony with nature. Surya often accompanied him, her presence a reminder of the bond between humans and the natural world. Together, they became a symbol of hope, teaching all who heard their story that even the gravest mistakes can lead to redemption when met with compassion and a willingness to change. And so, the hunter and the dove lived in peace, their friendship a beacon of light in the heart of the forest.